Well, good morning. This is a great morning. We had the inauguration for President Joe Biden, and what a wonderful, wonderful day. This morning, we're going to be talking with Dr. Susan Madsen all about COVID-19 and preparing women or getting a better understanding of what they're going through a survey that's being conducted. So stay tuned as we await Dr. Madsen's arrival to this podcast. I'm James Brown, and I am living and aging with pride. We're going to take a pause for a moment, sort of a break until she gets on. But we'll be right back with Dr. Susan Madsen. Well, good morning, Dr. Madsen. How are you?
How are you doing?
Good, good. Good. Well, as I had informed my audience that the great Dr. Susan Madsen would be here, and she's going to talk a little bit about the Utah Women Leadership Project, and also they are about to do a major survey study on COVID-19 in the workplace. And the first question I would ask is, why did you decide to take and do this survey, this study? Tell me all about why that came up.
Well, actually, I have been ever since the pandemic came out, I guess. So it's been a while now. I've had people probably around May or June, July, ask me if I was going to do some research on this topic. And really in the fall, so many organizations and people reached out. And so we really need to understand women's experiences and how COVID-19 is really impacting their lives, but specifically their decisions and the dynamics around women in the workplace. And so I've had lots of different studies happening, and finally got a little time, put together a team. Have two teams actually working on this, a quantitative team for statistics and then a qualitative team, and was able to get the instrument and just move it forward so we could launch it on January 4th. And so there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of need for this survey. In fact, what's interesting is there's now quite a bit of national research out on that. And nearly all the national research continues to say that men and women are impacted differently because of the impact, and women are disproportionately negatively influenced by COVID-19, particularly when it comes to work, paid work. Women do a lot of unpaid work, as you know, but paid work, there's really a big impact. So we're excited to be doing this survey, and we'll have it actually open, and we'll be collecting data all month in January.
So what are you learning? I mean, you say quantitatively and you say quality, and I just lump both of them together because, you know, when you do good work and it's all quality, it's good stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, it's quantitative and qualitative. So what that means is we actually, some of the research that we do really is more open-ended questions, and we ask for people's experience. But we did a combination because there's so many elements in a woman's life, men's too, but a woman's life. And so we looked for other, surveys. And so we have a lot of questions that are quantitative. Therefore, we ask a question and then they mark what answer, like how much income did you make in 2019 compared to 2020? What is your race? What is your age? If you stopped working, what was the reason? We'd give them 10 like things to choose from. So we have many questions like that are going to be super interesting with a large sample to run statistics on, because it helps us really know the perceptions of people. However, James, what's also important is everyone, and especially, I've really spent my time working on issues related to girls and women. everyone has their own story. And it would not really be able to give us really great overall data unless we had a chance for women to share their stories. So we have 3 open-ended questions for women to share their stories about their experience with COVID-19 and work and how it's affecting their careers. And also, actually, if any of them have seen any benefits for their careers or their job choices from the pandemic. So with both, they're all quality, but
Okay.
with both kinds of data, we're going to be really doing something I believe no other state in the United States is doing with such a large sample and hearing those voices. So I have a couple of Huntsman School professors who are going to be running stats, but then I also have a variety of professors from Utah Valley University and other folks who will be really combing through those stories and what themes are coming out. And it's going to be such great research, such great data for the state of Utah, not just for the state of Utah, James, but for businesses and for organizations, but also for individual women.
I'm going to jump in here because I get the feeling that we've kind of punctured that ceiling, if you will, and we're finding that women play a very instrumental role in development of our life, our businesses, and our business community. And that door is opening up wide. The ceiling is really hanging by a thread, but that thread is, I'm not understanding, and I'll say it this way, what the difference is going to be, because women are taking on the same kinds of roles that men are taking on, and they're still doing a broad scope of things. What are you hoping to find from this whole process of women in the workplace as it affects, as COVID affects them?
So great question. First of all, I'm going to have to push back on what you said because I have data, report after report that continues to say that even though there's some progress being made, there is a wide discrepancy in terms of women at the top levels, even mid-management in the state of Utah and up. There is still quite a glass ceiling in most industries, most sectors, and most organizations. There are some, however, that are taking diversity and inclusion efforts, and that, so you're saying the ceiling is hanging by a thread. I'm saying it's got a couple cracks in it, but it's still firmly in place. So, and a lot of that is because of the unconscious bias. I teach that all the time. I just taught that last night. That affects gender and race and so many other things as well. So I just want to push back a little bit on that. And anybody that's listening, we have data on all sectors, including women in politics and so forth, on our website at utwomen.org. Happy to have you look at that. Now, what we're hoping to find, what the national data actually clearly says,
Right.
is that women are taking the brunt of the negative effects for COVID-19. And we need to understand, and some people will say, well, that's just for the year of COVID-19. And by the way, we're almost at the year.
How are they taking the blunt?
But well, let me finish my statement.
Okay.
But what some of the national research is saying is that it could be long-term, many years until women get caught up with that. Okay, great question. How are they taking the brunt? Well, in December alone, tens of, hundreds of thousands of jobs have been lost, and women have left the workforce in December alone. It said all the jobs lost were women's jobs, actually. So when you really look at what's happening there, it falls in a couple of different chunks. So one is that more women really are in the service industry and places that were totally shut down And so men lost jobs too, but significantly more women lost those jobs. So, and many of those jobs are lower income. And
Right.
many of those jobs are single mothers. And we know that they really take the brunt of that. In the state of Utah, I have to say that you really see some of those dynamics in an educational level. And so women that are less educated, which we have many of women who have less education with men in the state,
Right.
we're getting close to catching up. But women of color specifically, we find lower education, and women of color more than anybody else, more than men of color or white women, have really been negatively affected by this. So the second piece I'll mention, there's many pieces, James, but I'll just mention one more. Um, Early studies came out, and one was Qualtrics and a partner that they worked with on
Right.
the impact of advancement of men and women. And in their extensive research early on in the pandemic, it was about May or June actually, what they found was that men would say, actually, we're getting promotions during the pandemic, and women not, because women generally have always had the brunt of unpaid care work.
Right.
And when their children are home and they're homeschooling and they're trying to, even if they do have a husband is in the home as well, research continues to tell us that women will still do more of the unpaid care work, housework, all of those things, elder care, all of those things. And especially when you get women as they age into the sandwich generation where they have elder care and teenagers at home, women just don't have the hours in the day to do everything. And therefore, the research is saying men are getting promotions and women are stalled or making decisions to actually leave by their choice because they feel like they have no choice to take care and make sure their children don't miss out on a whole year of education. Their children need to be motivated. Homeschool is just not a kid sitting there on the computer all day.
So it seems like we're facing a couple of traditional limitations, if you will, and religion plays a significant role in that. Women having the wonderful honor of birthing in our children tend to be that other block that's going, oh, we've got to make sure they stay in their place, so to speak. And men who have not made that transition in their brains to understand the quality of putting a person who's qualified in position rather than whether or not their gender fits the mold for their psyche. So we've got to tear that down. We've got to make our traditional religious leaders understand that women have as big a job as men, and therefore we have to recognize that and put them to work and put them in the system based upon their qualifications and not their gender.
Yeah, I think you're right on many fronts. I think what is most important is to get all women and men educated. No matter what we choose to do in life, whether we choose to stay at home full time, whether we choose to work, education can help. However, I also want to be very clear that we need to value women's choices. And I was a stay-at-home mom for many years, and I know I am very much in the know of so many women and highly educated women that at least for a portion of their life choose to stay at home. We need to value that. That's an important role. However, we also need to, as companies, have more part-time jobs for professional women who can be flexible. And it's not the either or. You don't have to do this and this. It can be and sometimes. And then we need to really value women's experiences once they want to go maybe full-time in the workplace, if they've been, we call it career relaunching,
right.
that actually their work at home, their work in the community that might be unpaid, their work, in efforts, advocacy, all helps them and provides them skills that shouldn't put them 20 years behind in their qualifications to jump back into the workforce. So there's some real strict, guidelines on that. One more comment on what you said. We do find in the research that really conservative cultures and really religious cultures of any religion, and there was a great piece 2, 3 weeks ago in the Salt Lake Tribune on this very topic, really do have less women in political power, a wider wage gap, and other things that really don't advantage women's choices to really contribute in the ways they choose to contribute. And for some, that may be professional paid work or a part-time job. For others, it will be staying at home. For others, it'll be a combination of them all. And for some, I know women that don't get paid, but work so much full-time in the community to help other people. So there's a lot of dynamics, James, in this issue.
It's overwhelming, all the pieces plus the pieces that you're already dealing with changing that perspective of women in the workplace and what women are qualified to do. It almost made me think of, maybe we should create the mass hiring thing where you never know who it is you're hiring. You just let them fill out the application and be surprised and, whoa, it's a woman. My goodness. And then we surprise these men, the system, our society, into understanding that women are aptly qualified to do a job and capable on a number of fronts. And we have to start recognizing that.
So you're talking about unconscious bias, which is so prevalent in everything that we do. And I need to also push back a little bit because it's not always men. Men, we talk about men, and sometimes we as women, if we have a view of what's a leader or what's an IT person, or all of us have this view of what that looks like, and if we're not aware of our biases, unconscious even, then we're going to go in one direction or another. And so many companies right now are moving to the practice of actually, in that first round at least, to take the names off the resumes, so that, because the research is clear in terms of, well, there's race research and gender. I'll just tell you the gender research that word for word, a resume is exactly the same except for a man's name, or they take and put a woman's name. And still to this day, 2/3 of the men those resumes will be moved on in the hiring process versus women, even if there's no difference. And you see that play out with race too. If there's a name that sounds Black or Hispanic or whatever versus white, and white men get the most advantage, then you see those dynamics, and it's often unconscious. And so there are some interesting practices that organizations are moving forward to at least try in that first, wave of the hiring process to be more equitable.
Well, I see in a sense that this survey is doing another thing. It's tapping into the subconsciousness of the whole process, that you're saying we want to pay attention. We want to know what effect COVID-19 is having in the workplace for women. But most importantly, we want you to know that there are women in the workplace with real responsibilities in the workplace, and we're going to tell you how they're doing and what they're doing and what you may be doing to restrict their advancement or limit their advancement because you've got some bias in your brain because they are gender different.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think, anytime you do research, especially really good, rigorous research like what we're doing with the Utah Women in Leadership Project at Utah State University, anytime you present that, and we'll be rolling out policy research and policy briefs and snapshots that'll help get that out, it is a form of education. It's a form of
I love it.
Increasing our awareness And I love reading research. And I tell you, more and more people around the state, and I'm not just talking about women, I'm talking about men and women. There's a lot of men, and we call them male allies if they're on the process of trying to get it. And some of us as women, you know, we have to work to get it too. But so many men now are reaching out saying, I want to learn, I want the tools, I really want to help support women. So there's some good energy towards this, but this particular survey and the reports that come out will definitely be bringing many of these issues to light in a way that maybe we haven't talked about them
Right.
before.
We're talking to Dr. Susan Madsen and the Utah Women in Leadership Project, and they've got a new survey coming out to really study the impact, effects, and issues of COVID-19 on women in the workplace. And I am a ally. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? You need to be one. We need to pay attention to this. And where can we go to find out how we can take the survey, what we can do about the survey? Give us some guidance here.
Great. So our website is utwomen.org, and you can find information generally there, but the best thing is if you go to that page and hit our social media, we have it posted there. You can also email uwlp@usu.edu, and we'll send you the details. Again, this survey will only be open in January of 2021. However, by April, early April, we'll start rolling out the reports and the snapshots. So if you are interested in really receiving those and being in the conversation, you can go to our homepage and subscribe to our monthly newsletter. So that's the best way to get involved. And just a little pitch that we really are working hard to get diverse voices. So every county, we have some participation right now from all counties. Some of them are not that much, so we're hoping for more. And also different levels of education, income, race, age, the whole thing. So you know somebody that could provide a different perspective than many of the folks that we see hanging out in Utah, man, that would be valuable. Anybody can participate if they're a woman, and if they are 20 years old and older and have been or now do paid work, or they were doing paid work before the pandemic and may have lost their job or chose not to work.
And I want to add my little ally side to it, and that is women and men, but women particularly, note that no matter what stage you are in the workplace, it's important for you to participate, because not only your participation can be measured and analyzed, but it also gives you another stepping stone as you aspire to better your circumstances. This is a look in that window. This is a chance for you to mirror your gender and understand that you can be more. So keep the faith, be ambitious, know that people are thinking about what happens to you in the workplace. And COVID has just really established a platform that really gives us a chance under a pressuristic I made that word up, pressuristic circumstances, so that we can identify these causes and how you're happening. But it's going to move you to the front of the table, because we're now going to know what it's like for you under really serious circumstances of restrictions that you can't control, and what to do about it. And maybe it'll help you as you get out. When this COVID is gone, you'll now know how to put your feet on the ground and run to where you want to go and changing your lifestyle. Susan, this is wonderful. Anything we can do at Living and Aging with Pride, you know I am a soldier with you. You just give me my orders, General, and I will follow them to the T, and we're going to make this happen. So again, repeat where they can participate in this survey. survey.
So the Utah Women in Leadership Project at Utah State University, our website is utwomen.org. And we have some links there that can get you to the survey. But also an easy way to get there is uwlp at usu.edu. And the survey's all over our social media. So just searching Utah Women in Leadership Project should get you to where you need to get. So thanks for the invitation to chat with you today, James.
Hey, my pleasure. You are wonderful. The organization is great, and we are there with you hand and foot. We're going to make a difference and change this world. God bless you. Have a great day. And we're in a new era. We've got a new president in. Now let's get down on the ground and start running toward making a difference. And with the new vice president, we now understand that the ceiling got a big crack in it, and we can really make that happen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a great day, and God bless, and be safe, okay?
Yes, thanks.
This has been Living and Aging with Pride with Dr. Susan Madsen. I'm James Brown, and you're not. And until next time, stay out there, stay healthy, stay happy. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Good to